Hello and welcome to Stylish Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I'm chatting to Nick Woodhead. Nick is a graphic designer based in Honley, West Yorkshire, and we met at the latest Wilson's Republic event maybe a month ago?
Yeah, about a month ago, yeah.
Yeah, because we both know John, who has been on the podcast previously, who I've shot Katie Ennis-Hargreaves with, and he introduced us.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
bit of a
bless
legend,
him.
John, yeah.
He's so funny. Just makes me laugh. So how did you find that event? Because that was only my second Wilson's Republic that I'd ever been to. Is that your first or second one? Or
No, that was my second as well. I went to the one that was earlier this year at the Hepworth building at the university. So I went to that one, but I did the Creative Bubbles last year, and I think I did it this year as well. I think I've done it twice.
Nice.
I like them. It's weird that I just found out about it, and it'll probably feel like Instagram or something like that. And I'd never heard of it up until last year. And I think it's a great idea because I don't know enough creatives.
When we moved here to like West Yorkshire, I was like, I know there's creatives around. It's hard to find people because a lot of people work from home or like yourself in shared offices. It's quite hard to like connect with people if you're not going to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit shy when it comes to just walking up to a designer or whatever creative and just, oh, hi, I'm Nick, and I do so and so. I struggle with that, but when we did the bubbles, I found that a lot easier because it's kind of you're all helping each other in a way, I suppose, like answering questions or offering what advice you can. But yeah, I think it's a really cool event.
It sounds like we were both at the same one. Is that the one with I went to the one at the Hepworth with the artist who made the sheep?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And there was a massive sheep in the lobby as well.
Yeah, really good that.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really interesting. I think that's what they do quite well is they get really good talkers on, and like people who maybe you know about or you wouldn't have come across to kind of dig into their journey or like how they work.
Yeah, I thought the talkers at this last one were fantastic. Like the fella who did all the typographical animation stuff, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
The lady it was on beforehand as well, she was the copywriter.
Yeah.
Like really interesting. And it's nice to sort of hear that you kind of all face similar struggles, similar problems.
Yeah, that's it. And I think sometimes when you're creative and you're self-employed, don't know if you feel the same. Sometimes you feel on your own and actually like you're not at all.
Yeah.
And there's other people in the same situation, chasing invoices, trying to find work or trying not to have your work ripped off. That's another thing that happens.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to like hear how people have kind of gone over those hurdles.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Because it's weird when like when you sort of cut that tie to that wage and stuff, and then you start out on your own, and there's so many things to kind of think about which you didn't think about, like when you was just sat at a desk getting a folder with a briefing or something, and then getting your wage at the end of the month. But I mean, it's a good thing, if it's right for you, it's a good thing, I think. Like I didn't know if it would be right for me or if it wouldn't be, but then like I'm 6 years in now, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. I was going to say, like every day can be different.
Because I was just going to ask, like, how did you start your graphic design journey? Did you train at uni, or is it something that came to you later? Or
no, like as far as I remember, there were two things that I wanted to be when I was younger. One were an astronaut, which I'm sure like every other kid probably wants to be an astronaut, and then the other were a graphic designer.
Nice.
And the graphic design that I did when I was at high school, it were like technical drawing. It wasn't really graphic design. It were like isometric projections and all that kind of stuff. You get like a little plastic A3 drawing board and stuff on with a ruler and protractor, and that's sort of graphic design. And it wasn't until I went to, like, I did a foundation course at Tech, and that opened my eyes more to sort of like the creativity and stuff, and you know, like how to set type, how to like manipulate imagery. But the teachers that I had at the time, I didn't really find them too inspiring. So I kind of went off down the like moving image design route, which that's what I studied at university. And then it was like halfway through that course, I thought, you know what, I don't really like this. It's graphic design that you know, that's what I really want to do. And then you get your degree, you find a job. Well, you try and find a job, and it's just sort of anyone that'll take you in, really. I mean, I didn't have the fortune of doing. Some people did like a sandwich year where they went off and they worked at an agency. But at that time, I don't think I felt confident enough to kind of do that. So I sort of found my own way in it a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like when you're starting out, it's like you want to do graphic design, but then the companies that you apply for, they're like, well, what experience have you got? And it's like, well, I need to go and work for you to get some experience. It's like, well, no, you can't go work for us because you haven't got enough experience. It's like, right, okay. You know, I guess I'll just do this for the time being. And that's kind of what I did. So I did it for about, I mean, I worked at so many different companies. I probably did it for about 20 years or something like that, just working here, working there. And it was like, I do about 2 or 3 years, get bored, go somewhere else, do 2 or 3 years, get bored, go somewhere else. And I always wanted to be self-employed, but it's like, how do you do that? And then the last job that I had, that were an agency in Home Firth, and you kind of see how, you know, they're onboarding clients and stuff, and how they, like, essentially how they create like the, you know, like the job numbers and stuff from start and to finish and stuff, and like all the bits in between. And it's like, I can do this, you know, and that's sort of when I cut the tie and just tried it on my own, which it was hard at first, but yeah, well worth it.
It is hard. Like, I spoke about going freelance on another friend's podcast. She was like, how did you do it? And I went, looking back, I'm a fucking idiot because I left with like 500 quid in my back pocket, maybe less, like, you know, but you do it and you work really hard, and then you can pull your foot off the gas a little bit, and you can kind of get into the flow of stuff and kind of go, oh, okay, like this is how this works. And maybe you'll come across a hurdle of, I don't know, someone not paying you, and you're like, right, okay, well, I'll deal with that differently. And it's hard because you're wearing about 60 different hats, right, as a freelancer.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, like one of the other big mysteries was like, how do you get the clients? And the last job that I had, like the reason why I got hired to do that job was, so one of the things that the director didn't like doing was like doing the networking in the morning, because she had to be there at like 7:15. So he's like, right, well, this is now your job to do. So I started doing the networking. And I mean, I like talking to people anyway. And then you find out, like, right, that's how you kind of get the work. It's just chatting to people and like, what do you do? It's like, oh, I do this. You know, then you tell them a bit about yourself, and, oh, you're a designer, or, you know what I mean? It just kind of stemmed on from there, I suppose.
That's really cool. So then did you just kind of, all the pieces were fitting together and you were like, oh, right, actually, like now it's time?
Yeah, because I tried going freelance when I was about 26, I think it was. Like, I had a job in Ossett, like working print, because I'd done 4 years as like an in-house designer, and it were like photographing like tiles and making brochures for tiles, which once you've photographed like about a couple of thousand tiles, it gets a little bit repetitive. So I thought I need a change of pace, and like I wanted to learn about print. So I went to work in a print shop, and I got made redundant from that. And it's like, shit, what do I do now? So obviously I'll give it a go, you know, go freelance. And I did it for about 6 months, but I was pretty shit. You know, it's like, you just sort of realize, like, I'm not very good at this at all. And then I ended up getting a job, like a job again, which I sort of stuck at that path for maybe, like 14 years before I thought, right, I need to try it again.
I think as well, we all pick up little bits of experience from the previous jobs, and then you kind of like can build on it and then have the confidence to do it as well. It's a really scary thing to do, to go freelance, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's hard kind of cutting that 9 to 5 like tying your head, you know,
Yeah.
because you might have like a couple of hours free in the afternoon. And you're like, oh, I should be working. You know, I should be like working on a project or looking for more work. And, you know, it takes you probably about 6 months to a year to kind of get out of that mentality. And you're like, oh, well, I've got a couple of hours free. It's like, I'm going to fuck off to Hills and like walk for a few hours, you know,
Yeah.
and you don't feel any shame whatsoever because, you know, you've probably been up at 5 or you've been working like till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And it's like, as long as you're there and you do the work and you do the job and stuff and you do it well, then it doesn't really matter like where you are during the day.
It's taken me a lot longer than you to relax into that. But I think that's because I have to physically be in a studio quite a lot. So
Right.
like then to take the day off, like I was saying to you today, I've been to the physio, been to the dentist and stuff. So I don't feel guilty about going now, having a whole day off and being like, right, okay, I'm going to fill it with admin jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
But it does take a long time to kind of not feel guilty or like shame that you're not being as productive, because actually you are being
Yeah.
productive. It just might be in different times to the 9 to 5.
Yeah. I think it's all about sort of finding yourself really.
Mm.
You know, when you have a 9 to 5, it's like you've got this set of rules and stuff, and you know when you got to be at your desk for, you know when you can have your breaks, you know when you finish. Whereas, yeah, when you're working for yourself, it's like if you don't really have a lot of discipline, then you just get distracted a lot, or there's so many other things that you might want to do instead of actually working. So yeah, it's just finding that discipline really, which I think I've got now almost.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
do you find to be the best thing about being freelance and self-employed?
Oh, there's so many things. There's so many things. I love finding the work. It's like I love it when when you speak to someone and you realize you can help them,
Yeah.
and then the next thing you know, you're writing a proposal, and then the next thing you've got that sort of deposit in the bank, and like you've got a job, and it's like it's because you've done it off your own back. That's quite an achievement in itself. Like I love that, but then going like booking a random day off in the middle of the week just to go to lakes or to Wales or something and climb a mountain and do something like that. It's like, like all your mates are at work and you're like top of a big hill or something, like having a beer at like 2 in the afternoon or whatever. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's loads. I mean, there's loads of stuff. It's such a once you got your head around it and stuff, and once you kind of know what you're doing and you've kind of got that discipline, then it there's so many like advantages to it other than like working for someone.
Yeah. And I think there's a certain like reward about earning that work as well. When you've gone out and like made a relationship with a client and like then won the work, there's that certain like,
Yeah,
almost like a dopamine hit, right?
a little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, oh my God, this is great. And then like, oh, and then I go, oh, I hope they like what I do. Do you have that as well? Like an imposter syndrome,
Oh yeah,
like
all
coming
the
in
time.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, like all the time. It's like I'll spend ages on stuff because when I get branding jobs in, I'll probably spend like nearly a week and a half just researching it, or not even research it, just like, right, I need to just get out of the office and just sort of think about it and mulling stuff over in your head. It's like, because you don't want to disappoint someone, and it's like they're trusting you to do a job, and you've got to, you've got to do that job, and you've got to do it well.
yeah,
And you see so many people out there that have these businesses, and like you look at the output and stuff, and it's like, how was someone paid for that? Because it's like they're saying they're this and they can offer this, but then you look at the quality of that product that they're offering, and I don't know, like a lot of what I do is like educating people as well, because if they don't really know about the design or like what looks good and what works, then they'll settle with anything really. So yeah, there's a lot to think about. Yeah.
it's almost like a journey, and you take your clients on that journey and kind of like guide them in the way you think is best for
Yeah.
their brand as well, by the sounds of it. And it kind of, I think a lot of people don't realize how important graphic design is to businesses actually. And they go like, well, we'll just fling a sign up. It's fine. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And actually it's not just about that now. I think people understand that you've got to build a whole brand and kind of,
Yeah.
you've got to be a brand yourself, and like it's got to not emulate, that's maybe the wrong word, but it's kind of got to encompass everything.
Yeah.
And it's got to be cohesive, which I think some people miss that massively. And you're like, what? Probably me included as well, actually. But sometimes people miss that cohesiveness, and then it looks really disjointed when you're looking at, like, say, their Instagram and then their like website and, you know, maybe their shop. And
it's kind of like it's bringing it all together. I think that consistency. When you see people that they've started a business and they might have 3 or 4 different logos when all they need is one logo, or they might have 6, 7, or 8 different typefaces that they're using for sales items or promotion, and it's all disjointed and there's nothing seems to stick together. So educating people that, right, well, we need to like kind of simplify this, and I know it sounds boring, but we need to make it all look the same. So people, they get an idea of the business, you know, they get an idea of what that company's about, or that service is about, and they can see like the consistency from, you know, it might be a window graphic in a shop or a billboard on the street, or, you know, they might then see like the social media online and stuff, and everything kind of looks the same, and it's all nicely designed and tidy and like well presented. And I love that, you know, like kind of bringing it all together, like creating a set of rules, I suppose, or like a system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that also sounds quite challenging, working with people who maybe need that system putting in as well. Is that quite challenging to kind of get across?
Yeah, like some people get it like straight away, and then some people you have to kind of like educate them a little bit, because it's not, you know, their business, for example, they might be selling like double glazing or something, and what's it matter if this sign on the side of my van is different from the sign on the front of my shop? It still says the same thing, you know, but it's like, yeah, you kind of like look a bit tatty or a bit kind of, you know, disjointed. Nothing sort of like seems to stick together. So it's kind of just educating people into like how they could be so much better and so much bigger and so much stronger by just having a set of rules for the visual system.
I think you're right. Do you think as well, people, obviously being a creative, I understand the value of like your job. Do you think some people, when it is like, say, a double glazing company, do they not always understand what your job is?
Yeah, they don't understand like the value. They think, oh, he just sits there. He's just gonna find a font off the internet and just slap this together and stuff, and it'll take him like 10 minutes. And why is he charging me a couple of grand? It's like, that's bollocks, that, you know. But then once you kind of like show people like all this collateral that they're going to get at the end of the project, and then they see the sales as well. You know, like you'll work on some jobs where, you know, they're pretty big clients, and like they've just been running with like a logo that the friend did or something, or, you know, like whoever knows a bit of graphic design, and they've put this thing together, and it's got them so far. But then you know, like you'll rebrand them, and you'll make them look so much bigger or like much more commercial, and then they'll start seeing that like the phone's ringing more because people are noticing them more, and they've got this like system behind them which it helps them sell, and it helps them, you know, like make sense of the products and stuff, as opposed to, you know, like a sales rep just giving a tiny bit of A4 paper that's just been photocopied or printed or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, that's a product there.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, do they see the value in it after you've done the job? Because I think
so,
you're right. Like, people go, oh, actually, I want to buy from them because they look more professional, or they look more like put together. I mean, there could be chaos behind it, but, you know, as long as they look put together out from the front, then people will still come through the door, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what's the worst part about freelancing?
The quiet times, the times when like you aren't getting the emails, or the phone's not ringing, and you're like, what the fuck have I done? Like, who have I upset? Like, I must have done something wrong, and I just maybe I was sleepwalking, and I caught the. But yeah, I mean, this year, for example, I had about 4 months where it was really quiet, and I was ticking over, so I could pay my bills at the end of the month, but I wasn't making any money, and I'd as soon started losing it. And then it got to about May, and it just completely changed, and it's just been so busy since May. Like I've not stopped. Like everything, I've fallen behind on my social media. I've fallen behind on my website. I've fallen behind like on going out just to, like to different networks or meet new people, just because I've been that busy. But I don't mind it because it's good work. It's the quiet times that I think sometimes can be the worst times.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think it's mine go in a cycle. So
Yeah,
mine start to go quiet from November through to about February, March time. And then
right.
from then on, I kind of start to build up. And then in July, August, September, I could cut myself in four.
Yeah,
And it's like you go crazy. But then in the quiet times, I'm like, right, what creative project have I got kind of on the back burner that I maybe didn't finish last winter that I can pick
yeah,
back up again? Or like, can I get onto my social media? Like this year, I started my social media and I was like, right, let's go like 3 times a week. Let's do it. And I
yeah,
was really on it until about August.
yeah,
And then it's just like dropped off a cliff.
yeah,
But I think and same with my website, it probably could do with updating, but like, I've not had the time or asked for any of the images, but it is hard to have that, oh God, what have I done wrong? That
yeah,
feeling. I've always think like, oh, did I say something wrong? Did I offend somebody? Did I fart? What was it? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because you're just like, oh my God, was I just stinky that day and no one's booked me? And it's never anything like that. I can assure you all I do smell vaguely of comfort. But it's like just understanding that there is those cycles within our creative work. And sometimes it doesn't come, sometimes you're just ticking over and you're like, right, okay, I know my bare minimum, say 8 days a month and I can pay everything. So if I've got 8 days a month, I'm winning. And if you change your mindset a little bit, kind of, I think that helps.
yeah. It does a little bit. I tell you what helped me, journaling.
Oh, nice.
So I started journaling. I think it was just before lockdown. Went back into no 2020 maybe or 2019. But anyway, I started journaling and I do it every day, and it's good because you can like record. Like when the times are good, you can record when the times are bad. When you do have these quiet periods, it's like, right, well, what were I doing when I was busy? And I'll look back on that journal and I'll go, I'll find the dates where I've got like loads of work in, right? What were I doing like leading up to that work, right? I'm going out, I'm meeting people, I'm talking to people, I'm networking, I'm having one-to-ones and stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that you should be doing, when you're quiet. And it's obviously like work, work on the business as well. I mean, you should be doing that really anyway. That should be kind of like a weekly thing, but talking to people or introducing yourself to like other areas where you might not have, been before. Like I don't like venturing to Halifax a lot, which I don't know why. I mean, I like Halifax, but I could do with getting some like networks booked in there, or like maybe over to Manchester or something like that. So I just look at what we're doing when I were quiet and I managed to get some work in. So that kind of helps me a little bit.
That's really good, actually. That's really like good advice, I think, because you can get bogged down. Like this time last year, I found myself bogged down in my own misery. I was like Shrek in my own, wallowing in my own pit of misery. And me too. But when he's that classic scene where he's like chilling in his own like swamp.
Yeah.
But imagine like a miserable Shrek. That's kind of how I was. And I think like now I'm in such a different place, but like if I look back on that time, there was other things that I just started to implement because I was like, right, I'm quiet. So like, who can I talk to? Same as you, like, can I update my Instagram? Can I update my portfolio? Is there people I can chat to? Is there like, can I go for coffees with people who are maybe in my social network, but maybe I don't know as well?
Yeah.
Like, what can you do? Or same as you, like go for a hike, or I got my camera out, started like just being creative. And then all of a sudden work comes in. It's like if you're putting negative vibes out, you don't get anything back.
They don't.
It's very like hippy dippy, but it's so true.
No, it is. You're absolutely right. It's. I think once you manage to find other ways to take your mind off the fact that you might not have any work at the moment, but you've got a legacy, you've got like a portfolio. It's like it's obvious you can do the job. You've got testimonials that back up what you do and stuff. So maybe there's just some. And the economy might not be great at the moment for whatever reason, and it's like people are. They don't have as much budgets to spend on like rebrands or marketing. So it's like, right, well, have you got enough money to ride it out? Yep. All right. What other stuff can you be doing? Right. Well, as you say, it's like I can be updating social media. I can be doing my website. I've not done one this year, but I used to do like a brochure.
Oh, nice.
I've got one somewhere around, but it's just like a 48-page brochure, and it's just like a lookbook. Like literally, like it's just got projects in. I think I've got one here actually. Yeah, I do. So like these here.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And just like all it is just like portfolio
Oh,
pieces.
that's cool. So Nick, I'll just explain to listeners what you just showed me. It was like all the bits from your website, but just in a physical like book, really. And that looks so bright. And do you then send them out to old and new clients?
No.
Or do you just keep it for yourself?
No, I just, so if I'm going to a network, I'll dump a few on a table, just help yourselves. Or if I'm talking to someone, anyone, like it doesn't have to be work related. I'm like, oh, do you want a brochure or something? Like, here, take a couple. Like, if you know anyone who needs this kind of stuff, just pass it on. Yeah. But it's that alone has got me quite a bit of work in, just from people having something in their hands that they can kind of like look and flick through, and straight away it's like, wow, look at all this, look at these projects that you've done. Oh wow, I didn't know you'd work for so and so, and you work for so and so, and it just starts conversation, and you might not hear all back maybe like for 4 or 5 months, but you normally do hear something from someone at some point. So they're a good thing to have.
I think you've just hit the nail on the head. It's like playing the long game. Sometimes you're not quite right. Me too. And I think people often think, oh, that person, like people think of me for bright stuff. I know I'm not showing my brightest person today. I'm wearing a nice black jumper, but they'll go, oh, Charlotte styled loads of bright products. She knows bright props and stuff. And so maybe there might not be the right project just at that exact moment. But then like 3 months later, I'll get a phone call. Oh yeah, I've seen you, I've been following you on Instagram and I've seen all this project and this project. And I'll be like, fucking hell, it's from 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but we've waiting for the project to come in basically to use you, which I think is it's really good. And if you're getting those physical books out to people, that's another, they've kind of got it to see it.
Yeah.
It's a bit like you typing in your website on their phone, isn't it? It's just like, there's my website.
Yeah. Well, it is, yeah. And like something like a website, if you said to someone like, oh, here's my website or whatever, chances are that tab or whatever will probably get closed. Whereas, if you give them like one of these like lookbooks, that's going to stay on their desk. I'll talk to people now and they're like, oh, you gave me one of these like a couple of years back. I've still got it. So
nice.
Yeah, like you never. And they're all right as well. Like the printer did a good job on these, like they're nicely bound and stuff, like a nice sort of soft touch finish to it, and like nice uncoated pages. So they don't really want to chuck them in the bin. I'm not selling out in them. Like all I'm saying is, just look at this groovy shit that I've done, and you might want some of that. You never know.
Yeah. And I think that's what my dad would have called hit and hoping. So years ago, he used to like write letters to people and be like, I'm an amazing roofer. If you need if your tile slipped, give me a call. And it's that hit and hope, and kind of, all right, you might not hear anything for 3 months, or you might not ever hear anything, but then people might call you the next day. You just don't know.
Well, it's law of averages as well, isn't it? It's like the more stuff you put out there, or the more people that you talk to, like even if just one of those come back, it could be a job that's worth like a few £1,000s.
Yeah.
So you don't need like all 50 or 60 of those people to come back at you, because like if you do, you're fucked, or like you're gonna have to start an agency, or like you've got a lot of work to give out and stuff, and a lot of stress. Whereas like if 2 or 3 of those come back and they're decent jobs, and it's like they've seen what you can do, and it's like, right, we like your style, I think we want some of that as well. Let's have a conversation.
So do you work closely with other graphic designers? So say if do you collaborate with other designers, or do you sometimes pass each other work and stuff? Or
I don't I'm not very good at like kind of. I don't really know any other graphic designers as such, other than the ones that I follow on Instagram. Like I met, well, I've not met him. He won't. I don't know if he knows who I am. Like I've used him. Do you know Simon from No Name?
Name rings a bell.
He's got a clothes shop in Software. Sorry, for those.
The Oslo,
So
it's
yeah,
Otto. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yeah.
So I got a job earlier this year, and I had to. Part of it was like illustrating a coat of arms, and it's like this is going to take me ages. This I need to get in touch with another designer. There's a lass called Lauren who she's a copywriter, and she goes, "Oh, have you tried Simon from No Name?" And it's like I've seen his stuff, and his stuff's like absolutely quality. And I just thought, oh, I'll send him an email, and he's like, "Yeah, I can do it, no problem at all." So he did an amazing job of it, smashed it out of the park. Client loved it. I got to concentrate on like the sort of type stuff, which is what I love. And I thought, yeah, I need to find him more work. But I mean, as it stands at the moment, it's like there's not been anything else that I can really dish out, I suppose. But like, if I get more work in, then I'll definitely be giving him a shout because yeah, you're brilliant.
That's really good. I think it's nice that like there's from every time I speak to graphic designers, there seems to be like a sharing of work almost that like, right, you're really good at that part, so I need that bit, and you're really good at this bit, so we can collaborate. And then, oh, actually I'm like too busy for this entire project, but I know that's more up your street. Have you got time? You know, everyone seems to work quite collaboratively, and it doesn't seem as competitive as my world. My world seems really competitive. So it's nice to hear that there is other creatives just networking nicely.
Yeah. Well, you kind of grow up thinking there's a lot of gatekeepers, I suppose, in the you know, like in the creative or like design world or like agency world and stuff. And it's like when I was younger, I like, how do you get into an agency? How do you become a designer at an agency? And like now I am where I am. It's like I'm glad I'm not a designer at an agency because I'm really enjoying doing what I'm doing on my own. But it was just such a mystery, you know. It's like you kind of well, you have to start off at the bottom and work your way up. But now, because of stuff like YouTube, and have you ever heard of a chap called Chris Do?
No, I don't think so.
He's very prolific with like the videos that he puts out. But he was teaching people like myself, I suppose, like how do they become a freelance creative? Like, how do you charge for it? How do you that's one of the other things as well. It's like, how do you price for your services?
Yeah, that's a biggie, that one.
Yeah, like when I started out, I was charging, I think my first branding job, I charged like 350 quid for it. And it took me about 3 or 4 weeks. And it's like, well, I can't live off this. So, you know, you slowly start realizing, right, well, I need to start putting this up and charge more, you know, like proper prices. Like you can still undercut agencies and deliver the same quality of work, but because it's just you doing it on your own, it's you can get a couple of those jobs in, and it's like you've got not a bad bit of money in your bank from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're starting out, it's like it's such a mystery. But then thanks to YouTube, it's you know you can get a better idea of how to sell yourself as a creative.
Yeah, definitely. I think like me and several of my peers all talk quite openly about rates because we're all of a group that I know we're all similar age and we've all been in the business for long enough. So we're kind of like, all know roughly what our rates should be. And then I think it's the younger generation are talking about it more, but the generation above never even spoke about it.
No,
So there's some older stylists who they're like, no, we don't talk about rate. And I'm like, but why? You're all like, we need to be on a similar, or, you know, we can't all be undercutting each other or overcharging.
Yeah.
Or, you know, there's a balance to be had, but because we all need to make a living, right? But there's a way to do it where we're all roughly at the same price. And I know several photography assistants in Manchester have got like a WhatsApp group. And if someone gets a job, they'll message and say, has anyone else worked with this client? Is it this price? Because that's what they're telling me it is. And they kind of price check it, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
Between each other, which is quite a good idea, really.
That's really good.
I think it's a really difficult one when you're going out freelance on your own. Like, how do you charge? Like, you know, what do you want? 10 quid, 50 quid an hour? Who, like, you know, and what will people pay? That's the other question, isn't it?
Yeah, like the way I worked it out was how much do I want to be earning a year? Right, I want to earn this amount. How much do I need to charge to earn that amount? How many hours a week do I need to be working to earn that amount? And that's kind of like how I got to my hourly rate, which
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm probably about average, maybe average upper. I don't know. But,
Yeah.
you hear about these creative directors that work in agencies and they're charging like, I don't know, like £150 an hour, like plus. But then you've got to think in an agency, right? Well, there's all those staff to pay for. There's all, like the utilities and stuff to pay for. There's the offices to pay for. There's the pool table to pay for. Like there's all this stuff that
Yeah.
they've got, and it's like, right.
Yeah.
So that's how they get their hourly rates because
Yeah. Yeah.
they need to keep the lights somewhere. With me, it's kind of like I'm an individual, so I don't
Yeah.
have like all those outgoings. Like my setup is so simple, so it's
Yeah.
kind of right. It's just for my expertise, really, not for anything else.
Yeah. And I think that kind of people find value in that as well because you're going to be a sole focus almost on that client. So then they're like,
Yeah,
right, okay, well, you've got Nick's attention for that entire week while you're doing that thing.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like, I think it's more personable actually, probably than
yeah.
an agent.
Because from working in an agency, I know that it's not going to be the top creators working on these projects. They might be there in the meetings, but then once that brief's gone off, it's going to go down to the art workers and stuff to start generating ideas. And it's like you don't necessarily know where or who is working on that brief. It's kind of you just sort of see the end results where you work with an individual like like yourself or like me. It's like you are working with yourself or me, no one else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think that's probably where the value is with like using freelancers, professionals who work for themselves.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with you. I think the tide's changing as well a little bit on like agency stuff. I guess it ebbs and flows like it does
Yeah,
with all business. But I'm definitely seeing people wanting the micro agencies and like there's a few producers that I know that are micro agencies and they've got a gang of other freelancers that they use so they can beef themselves up if they
yeah,
need to. And, I think it seems to be the way people like to do business as well at the minute.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I get like it depends on the job as well. Like if I get a job it might be a company that's got 50 to 100 members of staff, right? That's too big for me to do on my own. So I'll put it across to my colleague Danny. Have you ever met Danny Bulver?
No, I don't think so.
Right, he's the purpose designer. I am actually part of the purpose designers,
Ah,
but so if it's just a rebrand or something like that, or you've got a name for the business and you need a logo, you need some colours, fonts, a nice identity guide to kind of tie it all together, then I'll probably just do that on my own. Whereas, this company might be going for like 50, 60 years. They've never had a rebrand before. They want to get like everyone involved and stuff. And it's like, right, Danny, I think this is a job for purpose designers here. And we'll start off with workshops. And Danny will put all these workshops together. We do the workshops using Miro. I don't know if you ever used it, but it's a really cool like bit of software where it used to be kind of like the boards that they'd have with the sticky notes on it. And it's sort
yeah,
of similar to that, but it's all done online. So we could have like groups of like 20 to 30 people if we wanted to. I mean, that is a little bit too many, but everyone could have their say in it. I mean, we landed a big job a couple of months back. It's for a charity. I mean, I can't say which charity just yet, but it's for a
yeah,
charity. And there's so many members of staff that they had at this charity. So we did a series of, I think about 6 or 7 different workshops with like little groups of this charity, like little sectors and stuff and individuals that wanted to be involved. So they all got their say in it. And the questions obviously that we were asking, they're tailored for that specific charity. But everyone gets to like input in like what they like about it, what they don't like about it, what do they think of the branding as it stands now? Does it make sense to people? What do people think of the logo? And you're getting all these various answers to these questions, which Danny will then take away and he'll it'll collate these all together, and we can then build a brief from it, which will then, we'll then feed that back to the client. And they're like, right, yeah, crack on, start on the designs. And it's like you've got all this information then to start the creative with, where, for smaller companies, it's like people might not want to do the workshops, or, it's like they've got a few ideas or little bits of inspiration that they might want to use towards the design. And in that case, that'd just be a smaller job that I just do myself. So like I do have a bit of a team of people, but it's, like the people that I work with, I've known them pretty much since I started doing this on my own.
Yeah.
So like if you need a website, or if you need anything really, you need some copy, you need a campaign sorting out, it's like I know, like who within my network I can use to do that.
I think that's the power of it as well, is like all of us kind of supporting each other, but in a collaborative way. And I think that sorry, my brain fog, having everybody from the organization kind of doing little workshops, it's a really cool idea, because it gives everybody who wants to have a say without it getting to a certain point, then you guys pinging it off for like sign off, and then Julie from accounts being like, I hate that. And you're like, Julie, we didn't even know you need to have an opinion. Like, what?
Sorry,
so, like,
that.
Too late, Julie, piss off.
Well, I tell you what we found. So we found this mirror from, it was when lockdown started, and we've got a big like rebrand of, it was the Home Firth Civic Hall. Yeah, so we rebranded that, and we wanted to get all the trustees involved. And like, obviously, due to COVID restrictions and stuff, it's like we all can be in the same room. So we did it over Zoom and Miro. So like everyone's got the Miro board on the laptop, and they can just write and like place these sticky notes onto the grid, or like onto the boards and stuff with the questions on. And because you're not sort of standing up in a room full of people, you don't feel embarrassed, or for people, like I'm a bit shy when it comes to, I hate doing my pictures and stuff when I go network, and I hate doing my 60 seconds, but I have to do it. But for people who don't like to talk in front of like a room full of other people, it's a great way of getting that information out of them without, pressuring them. Yeah. So we've sort of stuck to that ever since.
It's a really good idea. Really, really good. It reminds me of a client of mine uses Trello, which
Trello.
I've only just started using like this year. And it's absolutely ace, because you can just upload on your phone, or you can upload online. And like, it meant that I could do it while I was like at home and see what ideas she had. I could prop shop, it was way easier than Pinterest or anything else, or just an email with loads of like bullet points in it. Like, that's like my worst nightmare. Oh God, you're describing what you want to shoot. Just show me a picture. I'll end up visual person over here. But yeah, that sounds really interesting. And I think a lot, because of COVID, I think a lot of things like this came out of the woodwork that were maybe like Zoom wasn't really that big until COVID.
No.
I'd not even really heard of it.
No, I'd not either. I mean, it were an interesting time, was COVID, because when that came in, it was like because I had so much print work, all that went, like literally overnight, all that went. And I was like in a bit of a pickle, to be honest with you. And then I managed to get a client which had a pretty big budget. I don't know have you heard of Gen M? Like, so they're quite big now. I don't work with them anymore. They went off to propaganda, but they've done so well, and they started up in lockdown. All the collateral that required was like social media slides and like pitch decks and website layouts and stuff that was all online graphics.
Yeah.
So I kind of, I still do print. I love doing print, but I don't do as much of it now. It's more, like brand identities or website designs or stuff that's like virtual as opposed to like tangible.
Yeah.
Which I do quite like it, to be fair. It's a nice way of working and still doing what you love.
Yeah, I think it's COVID's changed a lot of things for a lot of people. And I think like if we can adapt and still have some of the old ways, shall we say, in, it's still they can both coexist, and I think that's important to have as well, because it's important to still know how to do these older ways of working, because there might be a time when you need them, or there's still good to understand that things came from a certain point before it all got digitized, or
like displays and stuff, like events. You know, like, you do these like display stands, and for a period of time that was no more because there were no events and there were no more displays. But I mean, I'm glad it has kind of gone more back to normal. But the worst thing about COVID, I think, was the fact that you couldn't see people in like an environment, like a network or something like that. Like I didn't like Zoom networking.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a couple of Zoom. Some of our old friends did a Zoom quiz night. Oh, and I feel the vomit rising as I'm saying it. They were so fucking awful.
Avoid them fuckers, yeah.
Oh, we did 2 and we were like, no, we're out. Fuck off. Love you all. Piss off. Not happening. It was horrendous. But I was the same as you. Like, I found the lack of social thing quite hard. And I think then going back to work, I found quite hard as well. Even though I was desperate to get back to work, I got really anxious. I'm quite open about it. I got really anxious and started having panic attacks and things.
Right.
And I think that then made me more anxious when I did go back to work. And before I'd have been hugging everybody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh God, what can you do? What, can't even hug my friend. What? So weird. So yeah, but I think we're getting to a point where people are happier with flexible working, and people are there's ways of working where we don't have to be in an office 9 to 5 anymore. We can go off and work, like you're working from a shared space. I often go and work in society down in Home Firth, the co-working space.
Oh, okay.
It's quite nice to interact with lots of different people and not be stuck in a corporate environment, isn't it?
I've not been to society yet. Is it nice?
Oh,
I've been for a meeting, but that were about it. I've not worked there.
Oh, get your bum down there. It's really nice.
Right,
it's really, really nice. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how much it is. I think it's 20 quid for the day.
Right, okay.
But the collection of people in there is really nice. There's some creatives, there's some independent financial advisors, there's mortgage advisors, there's a couple of people work for big companies.
Right.
I think there's my friend Cicely goes down there and she does social media stuff. It's literally is a broad range of people. But it's really nice. And I think they do quite a lot of events and stuff down there as well, which is making the community, it's got a nice community feel to it as well.
Right, I'll get myself down there then, yeah.
I obviously get quite distracted because I just talk to everybody. So
if
you want a quiet day, I'll tell you when I'm not in there.
Right, okay,
you can
cool.
Go when I'm, so you can have peace and quiet.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, where I work, it is just me, and I've got Stella who works in Corner. She works for Cats Protection though, so she's nothing to do with graphic design. And every now and again, you do need to get yourself out of your environment that you just sort of seem to be not stuck in, but just it's where you work into. And I do like working from other places. I'll take my laptop and I'll go and work from I quite like Peel Street at the moment in Marsden.
Yeah, I've not been there yet.
Yeah, they do a banging breakfast. Or I've been to Nom in Slough.
I feel like I might have.
Yeah, I'll just take my laptop and just go and get a bite to eat and just do a couple of hours work. Or Zapato, for example, that's a nice spot. And I always seem to do more work as well, which is weird.
Yeah, and you kind of, I think as well, when you're out of your comfort zone, you can kind of just zone in, or you maybe get a bit of creative inspiration because you're sat somewhere different. You've got a different view, you've got different noises, different, I suppose it depends if you're wearing headphones or not, but there's different environments bring a different creativity to you anyway.
Yeah, I like the ambience and stuff, when you can just you can hear a bit of chatter or just something, and it just seems to help. I've
not been to Peel Street. I'm following them on Instagram.
Best
I keep thinking
ever.
Oh, right, that sold it then. Because I keep thinking, say to Nath, we need to go for just to hop over and just go and see what it's like. And then I don't know, just normal life bogs us down and we don't get out, I'm like, oh, we should go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. And there's loads of my friends go, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really should go. But I'm gonna nail us down for that.
Yeah.
With your hiking as well, I know that when we met at the Wilson's Republic thing, you were about to go to Scotland, weren't you, for a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
So how did you get into hiking? Where did that come from?
When that was about maybe 12 years ago or something. I just going for a wander and having a joint.
Nice. Nice.
And that were it. And it's like, so it's like, I can't, you can't smoke, obviously, in your house when you live at a terrace, and you don't want to upset the neighbours, so to speak. So, yeah, I just went out, have a joint, like, enjoy nature. And then I'd be going out and I'd like walk for like half an hour. And it's like, right, well, this is, I feel like I could do a bit further. And then, I'd do an hour, hour and a half. And like next thing you know it, I'm walking like 20-mile like circular routes and stuff. Yeah, like 20, 25 mile. And
holy shit.
Yeah, I love it. And I'd go out with just a bottle of water and a podcast or something like that in the summer. You just got your shorts, t-shirt, bottle of water, you got your headphones, and you'd be out for like 6 or 7 hours. Because you're on your own, it's like there's so many ideas that'll pop into your head. And
yeah,
it's amazing, like what you come back with. Like you feel refreshed, you get a good night's sleep for a start, and you have like all these ideas. And I just thought, this is awesome. I need to like work out how I can, somehow like do this and get paid as well at the same time. Because I was working for someone like when I first started getting into hiking. And then, I did. I sort of like, as I cut the tie, it's like, right, well, I can go off on like a 2 or 3 hour wander, think about this project, get it in my head. And by the time you come back, it's like, I've got umpteen ideas on how to like approach it, how to start it, like how to, what to essentially create. And it just stemmed from there. And then it's like, well, I'm a bit bored of walking up to West Nav now, or like to Black Hill, or, it's not high enough. I think I need to do some mountains now. And then, because I used to have like a really bad fear of heights. And I remember there were me, my friend Richard, and my friend Ricky. We went to Crib Goch in Snowdon. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a ridge.
Oh,
yeah.
I think I've seen it.
And, and I just watched some videos of people walking across Crib Goch, and I did that to kind of get over my fear of heights, because you're like, I think you're like 600 meters up or something, and it's just a sheer drop on one side. So it's like you're dead if you fall, and you're dead if you fall that way. And it just got me over the heights, and like it was just exhilarating, and like so much adrenaline. And then I did that a couple of times, and then I just got into like going up mountains, like go up to lakes, go to Scotland, Wales, wherever. And it's like, I don't do them all the time, but I like to do a few mountains a year, just to kind of get out and just do something that's just completely unlike design or whatever. It's thrilling. I love it now.
I really like a good hike. And I was just saying to my physio today, I've pulled my hamstring, which I thought I had, from a 12-mile hike that I did back in the summer. And he was like, well, you also now live in a really hilly area, which you didn't before. So no wonder why your hamstring's gone. Your average walking the dog is up and down a like 30-degree hill. And I really loved that 12-mile hike, and it actually like kicked off me wanting to get outside more and wanting to get fitter and everything else. But I've seen some ridge walks, and they absolutely make me feel like I'm shitting my pants and I'm just watching it on Instagram, let alone going on it. Yeah. I know that my legs would be shaking all the way along there. I'd be that woman who's like straddling the rocks all the way along. That'd be me. I wouldn't be able to walk it. I'd just be like a little goat. Like, ugh.
I thought I'd be like that, but then I don't know. There's something that when you get up there and you realise it's not as bad as what people just build stuff up in the red, and it's never like that. Like if you have a conversation that you've been dreading, it's you built it up in your head, and you have the conversation, and quite pleasant, to be honest with you. And you're like, why did I worry about that? And I think it's same with the heights and stuff. It's kind of once you've got it in your head that that's what you're going to do, and it's like your brain will be like giving you all these reasons why you shouldn't do it. It's like, oh, you're going to fall, you're going to die, whatever. But as long as you know, like just pick a nice day, like not a lot of wind, bit of sunshine, and you get up there and you're with your friends and you're safe because your friends aren't going to let you fall.
You'd hope.
And well, you do it, and then you're like, wow, that's like one of the best things I've ever done. I need to do that again.
Yeah, yeah. You're like chasing it.
Yeah, like whereabouts do you normally go hiking?
So we've done Black Hill. We've done a bit in Scotland because we went to Scotland the week before you.
Right.
So we did quite a bit in Scotland, but with the
Whereabouts in
dogs.
Scotland were you?
We were in Ayrshire and just on the edge of the Galloway Forest.
Right, okay.
So we did quite a lot because we've got an I say elderly-ish dog. So she can do about 8K before she's like knackered. So we found a few like nice like loops around there. And then here we go into the peaks quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've done Mamtor like 1,000 times, but then the 12-mile hike in the summer was ended on Mamtor.
Right.
So it went bouldering almost, which was horrendous. I felt like I was like climbing like a spider. It was disgusting. I was like, what is this? We just tend to go in the Peak District, really. We've never been to the lakes. We've lived up north for nearly a decade and not been to the lakes, which is...
Get yourself up there.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been very naughty, really, because it looks beautiful and we've just not been. But we walk quite a lot. So from us, Wessenden Reservoir isn't very far.
Yep.
It's like a 10-minute drive. That's quite a nice one with the dog as well. You know, like you can make that quite a big loop. So yeah, we're just kind of building back up again to doing big stuff. But that 12-mile hike, I absolutely buzzed off my tits for about 2 weeks. I loved it. Even though I was like one of the slowest in the pack of people that I went with. No, not at all. And actually, like the conversations I was having with people along the route was really nice because it was the whole day, and like, you know, you get to know people a bit better because I went with a work gang, and it's just nice to be out in nature and be like, oh yeah, actually that idea's come to me. You know, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Galloway's a really nice spot. I mean, we camped. There's a big. I think it's like is it the biggest hill in southern Scotland? It's called. Oh God, I always go when I'm trying to like recall this story. Oh, it's gone again. Basically, it's a big hill, big hill in Galloway, and it took us. I think it took us 5 hours to get to the top of it, with like full packs on, but it was unreal. Like we got up there, and it was just one of those evenings where you know there's no clouds and the sun's like it's sort of going into golden hour.
Yeah,
and you can see the sea all around you, and like you could see I think you could just see sort of like a bit of island, and then like there's the Scottish islands and stuff around, and it was like unreal. It was just stunning. But yeah, it's a proper nice part of the country's Galloway.
Oh yeah, we loved it. We're actually going to book again for next year, I think, because we just loved it, and the dog loved it, and just really nice to chill and just be. Well, I got my bird app out, got my mushroom app out. Was like fully geeking out. I'm okay to admit, not for eating.
Oh, right, okay,
although it does tell you what's edible and what's not, but it's like identifier. Because I kept seeing really weird mushrooms, and I was like, I need to know. I have this like need to know what stuff is. So I'd like downloaded the app, and then it was telling you like what was poisonous or whatever, or eat with caution. And I was like, I'm not touching any fucking mushroom without a mushroom expert here next to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just really peaceful and really nice. And I think it's nice to get out and, as a creative, sometimes just step off the hamster wheel a little bit and just, reconnecting, to chill out and reset again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone should do it. It's like to get out in nature. It's just one of the best things. It's like just reconnecting a little bit, and you just forget about it when you're working in an office. And this like to one of your earlier questions, like what's one of the best things of like working for yourself? It's just being able to go out in the middle of the day for a couple of hours and go into countryside, or go to peaks or something, and just enjoy like just being back in nature. And whatever the weather's doing, it doesn't really matter. It's like you're not sat in front of your computer, or you're not on your mobile phone because there's no reception. So it's,
oh yeah.
It's good.
Yeah,
It's really good.
The only downside is when the rain's coming at your face at like 70 mile an hour. That's a bit annoying.
That kind of sucks. Yeah, I mean, we managed to avoid the rain. Like we've picked this week in October, and it's the week that we went on a couple of week back. I think it was like we're at the 14th of October to the 21st, and then we did it last year in Skye, and the year before up. I think it was like around the sort of northwest of Scotland, and every year we just like managed to fall on like really nice weather. Like no rain, or if it has been rain, it's kind of been in the middle of the night or something.
Yeah.
And it rained for us on the last day. That were it. We'd gone up to Aviemore, went up to Dornoch, and then down to like Balmoral, and we were just camping and staying in bovvies. And yeah, it was brilliant.
Oh, it sounds really good.
It's nice. It's like when it does rain, it does suck, because especially if it's the start of the week and you're driving around in the car with like wet tents and wet people and wet dog and
yeah. Nothing like the stench of a wet dog, is there, to make you be like, right?
It's disgusting.
We're all a bit upset. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I love dogs, but just like not when they're wet. Yeah.
Yeah. With you.
Yeah.
So I've got one last question for you, Nick, and answer it in whichever way you want. But what inspires you?
What inspires me? Don't really know. Like I got into this kind of business because I used to love drawing, and then that kind of led on to like a love of like type and typesetting and fonts. I mean, what inspires me now is probably my son. I live with my girlfriend, and then like she's got a little girl, so I've kind of inherited a daughter as well. And like being able to do stuff with them. I just go out and just like have random days out and stuff with kids. Like I love that. It's really it's so hard to like say what inspires me. I mean, the stuff that I kind of love is like I love film. I love music. I love like looking at stuff like galleries, museums. Like I love art. I find that kind of inspiring, but I don't know. It's a hard question to answer that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I have this drive to kind of just do what I do, and I love I love doing it, and I love the creative side of what I do. I'm doing it for myself, which that I suppose in a way is quite inspiring, because other than my clients, it's like I don't have anyone to answer to. Like I love helping other people out, really.
Yeah, I think that everybody gets inspiration from, and it sounds like you're like this, you get little pockets of inspiration from lots of different places.
Yeah.
And I think like sometimes us creatives do that, and we're like, oh, right, colour of the leaves, this, that, the other. I've seen this great piece of artwork. I like the composition of that. Or like, I don't know about you, I can walk past a shop window that's been dressed really well, and I'm like, oh, I love how the shape is being made there. Yeah. Or I love like this. Or maybe you'll see like band artwork, or for me it might be like tattoo design, and I'm like, oh, I love the composition of how they've made their shape, like the designs on the paper, or or it'd be down to like the way the sun shines through the window, or it hits something that it's not hit before because it's a certain time of the year, and we get it from so many different places.
No, you're absolutely. I mean, what would you say like inspires you, I suppose, like when you started out doing this as a profession? Like what was your inspiration to get into it? It's a hard question, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is hard. Now the shoe is on the other foot. I think it was like, I've always liked composition. Mine came from like, I like screen printing and print work at college. Yeah. So that was my thing. I wanted to go into printing, but like lino printing and things like that. But it was a dying art 20-ish years ago. And I liked working with my hands rather than being digital, a bit old school. And I think now the thing that still rings true is like all the composition. So when I'm setting up a shot, I might not be doing a print, but I'm still doing like, right, okay, we've got like something in the middle that's high. So let's step stuff down, and like where do things look best? Can we lean something? It's all about shape really, I think.
Yeah.
But then I get inspired by visually pretty much everything, what I see. And, it'll be, like I say, at the minute driving home from Manchester today, it was like all the golden leaves that looked like they'd had like a kiss from the sun,
Yeah.
And I think it's just, it can be color, it can be texture, It can be, oh, bloody hell, the ginger dog is merging with the ginger leaves, you know? Like it can be a lot of different things. So I couldn't, and same as you, I love going to art galleries. I like seeing like local artists do stuff. It comes from lots of different places. And there'll be times where music maybe inspires me more than something else, or, you know, maybe I'll see a crystal that I really like, or, you know, I'll see, I don't know, like the shots I've got up behind my laptop are places we've been on holiday. And there's one here. I'll show you this. It's a picture of swimming pool tiles in Iceland, but the tiles are like, they're like a bluey, I don't know if that's very good. And they're kind of like shiny. Yeah. I can imagine. And they're kind of like got a bit of pearlescence to them. So as the light's hitting them, they're refracting like rainbows and stuff, and like things like that, that it's maybe just colour and it's maybe not necessarily or it might give you a feeling, or, you know, and I think it's important to have things around you that remind you of a feeling or remind you of a place you were. I think I'd be screwed if we had a house fire. I just want to take all my pictures and like, there's not many up in this room, but like our living room and our hallway and our bedroom have got so many prints and pictures and everything up.
Yeah, if there were a house fire, I think I'd be grabbing my laptop. Well, obviously, you know, make sure like the kids are out safe and stuff, but I'd be definitely going back for my bass guitar and my laptop. I think that's probably the two things that, like, you know, I don't want bass guitar getting like set on fire. I don't want my laptop getting set on fire. That's it. Yeah.
I'm similar. I'd be like it'd be obviously dog, and then all the pictures I could grab, I'd be like carrying them out like quick. But yeah,
I do find weirdly inspiring is, and it's a bit sad this really, but like, do you know when you're driving on the motorway, like I love looking at, do you know, like curtain siders, you know, like the big trucks that you get.
Oh yeah.
And they've got like massive logos on the side. For some reason, like I always, you know, like find it quite interesting looking at how, you know, different businesses kind of like have the logos and the brand on these like massive trucks, and like how to kind of like use that space creatively, which I've never designed a curtain cider in my life, but I just love looking at them for some weird reason.
Put it out to the universe. Put it out to the universe. There you go. That'd be your next job, curtain ciders.
You know what? I wouldn't mind that. If I did a logo that was like on one of these like I don't know, like delivery trucks that you see.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy that.
I like seeing the old school like sign writing. That really intrigues me. You know, like where they've either on a narrowboat or maybe like an old school lorry or something, they've been like handwritten and hand painted, because that's like a very you've got to be so fucking patient and neat. They just look incredible.
That's a proper art form. That people can do like hand style sign writing. That's a proper art form.
I'd have like such little patience to do it, and then I'd over critique it, and I'd be like, get in the bin. I'd be like launching narrowboats everywhere. Oh shit.
There were a girl that came. A chap that I work for. Have you heard of Step Out Coffee? You know, Jamie.
Yeah, I know Jamie. Yeah.
Right, so Jamie, he were in Manchester, and it's so funny because like he got in touch with me and he's like, "Can you design a logo for me? I need some branding." And it was for when he had his coffee van in park and stuff, and I did all that with him and stuff. And then he got this girl from. Was she from like Leeds, or she might have been from Halifax, but she's a sign writer, and she basically like painted the logo and the branding and stuff and did his like menu boards and what have you, and it were amazing. I'm like, how have you done that without it being printed? And even because like if you look at his logo, it's a little bit sort of rough and stuff because it was designed to be, you know, like look like it was sort of in nature. And how she did it and still got all these like little like edges on it and stuff, and you're like, wow.
I have to confess, like I saw Jamie's van and I thought that was a print, so you've just blown my mind that was hand painted.
I thought that was a print until like I saw it, like she was literally outside, because it was funny because I used to live in Meltham, and then I moved to Honley, and then I saw the Step Out van like across the road from where I live, and I'm like, how fucking random is that? And like it were a girl that she had like paint all his like signage on it.
Bloody hell. And I knew Jamie from a studio in Manchester. We both worked at the same studio.
Oh wow, as if.
Yeah. So then when we moved over here, and then I saw on his social media that he had the coffee van in Meltham Park.
Yep.
I was like, I'm going to go see Jamie, and it was fucking freezing that day. So he did well sitting out in that van all day because it was fucking freezing.
Yeah, I don't get how he did that.
No, I don't either. Good on him, because it was absolutely Baltic. It was freezing.
Yeah.
And we stood having a gas, you know, and I was like, as if I didn't even know that he'd left. And then I left that studio as well. And then we were like gassing away, and I was like, as if you've set this up. And then he went into Cooper's Yard, didn't he? So he's got one of the slots at Cooper's Yard, which is great.
Yeah. His van, I think it conked out or something, and it was going to cost so much. And then it just so happened that Cooper's Yard was coming into existence, and that, you know, they needed someone that could like make coffee. And yeah. I mean, for a coffee lover, like living in Honley, it's like you've got, it's like the coffee triangle, isn't it, around here?
Yeah, there's so many coffee shops, so many.
There's so many coffee roasters as well.
Yeah, loads. I think there's quite a few people who are owning shops who are now roasting as well.
Right.
I think Block/Bear, whichever, I can never remember which. He owns both shops, but he's got a roasting thing as well. And then the Snakebite Coffee. There's so many. Yeah, they're really good.
Well, I'm friends with, because I go see like loads of bands and stuff, but the chap that I go to watch the bands with, Damien, he's one of the directors at, do you know Darkwood's Cafe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's quite handy because Damien, I could get a couple of bags of coffee, mate, could I? Oh yeah, come down, we'll sort you out. So, but yeah, like it's weird that he got into that, and like now Darkwoods, they sell to like Fortnum and Mason, they sell to Harrods, and you know they sell all over the world.
Bloody hell!
Oh, they're absolutely smashing it out of the park.
That's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing how, like, as a small business, you go, oh, I could maybe sell to Fortnum and Mason at one point, and they're like doing it, and it's quite inspirational, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, there you go. See, found you some inspiration.
Well, if it's coffee, then I'm always interested. I do love the coffee.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I've really loved chatting to you, and it's been nice to hear your story and actually have an in-depth chat rather than a quick half hour at a network event.
Yeah, it's been good. First podcast I've done this, so yeah, I'll have to try and do another at some point.
Smashed it.
Shall I?
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!